Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
I'm Wajahat, and my job is to make a despondent Danielle somewhat optimistic about the future. Let's see if I could pull it off in 45 minutes.
You know, folks, I will say this, that before Waj and I came on, Mondays have a different vibe for me these days. And I don't know if everybody feels similar. It used to be like, remember Office Space. Oh, you got a case in the Mondays, because you're starting the work week. And today, I don't know. I opened my blinds. It's pouring outside here in New York. It's like really dark and ominous. I open up my email from Waj to go over to the topics. Everything is just really terrible. And I was just like, yeah, we're really in it. Like right now. Like we're in it. It is not impending. It is not at our doorstep. It is literally in our house. It is everywhere, coming from every angle. And there is a deep sense of overwhelm and dread that I am battling with today. A friend of mine called to say she was in the emergency room because she is suffering from a lot of stress. And it's manifesting physically. I don't know, Waj. It just, like you said, we're in it. What does that mean for you?
No, it's a lot to unpack. By being in it, it's one of those situations that you and I have talked about for 2 years on this show. And I was telling Danielle over the weekend, I went to an iftar. Iftar, for those who don't know, it's some Ramadan, so I'm fasting. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually, people book in advance, and they do these events where they invite friends, and you break fast together. So I was at a very nice iftar where it's an annual iftar apparently, and like 150 people were there. And these are individuals who I would say, Danielle, 40s and 50s, with kids, some of them in college, some of them in high school, some of them young like mine, educated, informed. People were pretty, relatively stable. First time, nearly every table. I was there, Mehdi was there. People came up to me, and I'm talking about even like housewives, like people who work in IT, tech, right, who are not into politics. We're like, we're really thinking about where to go. Waj, like, what do you think? And there was a sense of dread. Now, these are people born and raised here, Danielle, who have now been talking like you and me, because you and me have been like raising the alarm for a while.
Yeah.
Every single table, like Canada, Portugal, Malaysia, Turkey. Like, can we go anywhere, right? And the fact that they were actually entertaining it, not in a type of doomsday wish thinking, like kind of you could tell everyone was like really leaning into thinking about it, Danielle. And then I was there, obviously, because me and Mehdi do this for a living, I guess. And so I had they were just surrounding me, like just listening to what I was saying. I'm like, oh, did you know what happened over the weekend? They're like, what? Oh, yeah, he defied another court order. And oh, by the way, it's not Mahmoud Khalil was a test case. Columbia University was a test case. These immigrants who were just shipped to El Salvador to their doom and torture was a test case. And nothing happened. And nobody stepped up. And the Democrats did nothing. And the judges did nothing. So we're in it. And so I pivoted because I could tell, much like how Danielle sounds and looks, people are like, oh man, this is depressing. Oh, like their face just soured. And so what I said is two things. I said, listen, I'll give you both analogies I gave. I said, I'm the type of person that if there's a comet coming in the sky, I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh, everything will be fine. Keep eating biryani, go home in your Tesla, everything's fine. My job is to say there's a comet coming in the sky. Now, the people who say there's a comet coming in the sky, you could break them down to two people too. Oh my God, there's a comet coming in the sky. Ah, like running around like Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
You could do that, but those people are also useless. I'm not that person. I'm the guy who says there's a comet in the sky. I'm still alive. I don't know how long I'm alive for. It all belongs in the hands of God. I have to do everything in my power to take out this comet. All right. Now, if I can't take out this comet, I have to do everything in my powers to save as many people as possible. So that's my mindset. That's the first thing I said. The second thing I said from my perspective was the following. And I don't know if people might agree with me. Let's see in the comment section. I said, if you really think about it, Danielle, like we are I was talking to someone from Syria. They were talking about this. We're like, man, Syrians for the last several years have undergone this friggin' civil war. And 500,000 Syrians at least have died. Like nearly half the country has been displaced. Doctors, educated people, right? None of that's fair. And I was talking to a Syrian activist 2 days after Assad fled. And I said, we're going to talk about that, Roberta. We're going to talk about all this. Don't worry, we're just prepping you. We're going to talk about the 10-year-old girl with brain cancer who's a citizen who was deported. But I was talking to this person from Syria, and I said, listen, man, if I had talked to you last week and I asked you, when would Assad leave? He said, straight up, hand to my heart, 15 years. It happened in 11 days. Just like that. Just like that. Tyrants can fall. Hitler said he would rule for 1,000 years, who ruled for 13. However, so much damage was done, folks. And I remember, Danielle, I said, we're not special. And this is not to take away the existential dread of folks. I said, listen, think about my great-grandparents. Partition was 1 million people died, folks. They left with suitcases. I'm talking about trauma. That entire generation was traumatized. My grandmother's generation, to this day, refused to talk about it. My parents' generation, like Danielle's generation, literally moved here with nothing across. Can you imagine coming to a country? So I said, this is not to make you all sit there and be like kumbaya, but every generation has a test. This is our test. And Ibrahim Rasool, who's the ambassador from South Africa to here, I don't know if you all saw, he's kicked out. Why did they kick out the ambassador to South Africa? They manufactured some BS where he, in his capacity, was talking about Trumpism, and they literally made him persona non grata. I know Ibrahim Rasool and his wife. They literally finished putting the paintings in their home. Okay, they're on a flight, Danielle. They're on a flight back to South Africa. Why? Because South Africa went against Israel. And South Africa, as you know, is being in the crosshairs because of friggin' apartheid Elon Musk. So they kicked out Ibrahim Rasool. Ibrahim Rasool told me yesterday he helped fight apartheid alongside Mandela. All right, he's a South African of Indian descent, and he said, I think about my life sometimes. Him and his wife are amazing, and he said, there's no calm. Right. And they say God tests whom he loves. And the wife was like, I've been tested enough, God. Now is enough. But, he said something really amazing. He says, it's like those who live life on the edge, they're the ones who truly live life. And he said, cowards die small deaths every day. But the people with courage die one big death. And it's a glorious death. So I was just thinking about that, Danielle. And to give you some hope, I'm thinking we're in it now. Other generations have been in it. What do we do with the time that we have? Cowards die many small deaths every day. So I know Ernie's like, what the F is Waj talking about?
No, look, I appreciate this as I know that everybody that listens to you and to this and subscribes to the Left Hook, your Substack, gets this insight all of the time. And I think that the impending dread, it's not even impending, it's just this dread that is here, that is stationed itself in my heart, is a place of it's here now what? Right? And I think to your point of we don't know how much time we have. And I think that is the big, existential understanding of what it means to be alive on this rock that is flying through outer space. But it is also to be very resonant about this moment that we are living in. I have said for years, everybody is not going to make it through this. Everybody is not going to make it to the other side. Stephen Bradbury that I had, I've interviewed, and that interview is up on my Substack. And as one of my change makers, that is the series that I do with Mary Trump Media. And Stephen said, our job is to leave something behind in the rubble.
Yeah.
Like, this is in fact collapsing. It is collapsing. This is what it looks like. It looks like a president of the United States defying court orders. It looks like deporting people who are here legally. It looks like attacking free speech. It looks like attacking the right to assembly. It looks like making examples and putting on spectacles so that you strike fear into the hearts of the people, right? Who feel like there is no path forward. So they must just acquiesce, bend the knee, bend their spines, in hopes that they will be spared. And I think that what we are recognizing now is that no one is going to be spared.
Nope.
And whether or not you are hit directly or indirectly, we are all being hit every single day, and have since Donald Trump's inauguration. And what I had said, folks, to Waj, earlier, was there is a deep sense, like with my family and friends, is it time to leave? Right? And then the response is, where do you go?
Yep.
Because Europe is preparing themselves for potential ground invasion from Russia. The Canada, the Americas, are at war with each other. Right now, it is a trade war that could very still well escalate into a ground war.
Yep.
So you go to Canada, right? And the Canadians are elbows up. You go to Mexico, right? And Scheinbaum is just like, yeah, we about this life. What do you want? So there isn't a quote unquote safe space. So when you finally really begin to recognize that there is a difference between psychological safety and physical safety, and that we are all psychologically being traumatized on a regular basis as part of the strategy of autocracy, can you actually feel safe when your family and friends are still physically in harm's way, because everybody can't pack up and go?
Yep.
Right. So I think that for a lot of us, we entitled the show today, "The King is Here," to kind of walk through what has happened in this short period of time. And the fact is, folks, that we are in it now. We are
We're in it.
here. It has arrived. And here is, a piece of an interview that was done with Lee Bollinger, First Amendment scholar, served as dean, University of Michigan Law, president of University of Michigan, and at one time president of Columbia University. And, said, we're in the midst of an authoritarian takeover of the US government. It's been coming and coming, and not everybody is prepared to read it that way. The characters regarded as people to emulate, like Orban and Putin and so on, all indicate that the strategy is to create an illiberal democracy, or an authoritarian democracy, or a strongman democracy. That what we're experiencing, our problem, is in part is a failure of imagination, which you have heard me say on this show and every show for the last several years. We cannot get ourselves to see how this is going to unfold in its most frightening versions. You neutralize the branches of government, you neutralize the media, you neutralize universities, and you're on your way.
And you're on your way to what? Authoritarianism. And we led with that quote because people might say, Danielle and Waj, you doomsayers, who are you? And this was Lee Bollinger, right, who said that just over the weekend. This is when we're in it, the reason why we say we're in it, folks, is we are in now what is, in my opinion, and we're going to bring the receipts, what I believe is an authoritarian age. Because Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he would. Donald Trump has purged the government. Donald Trump has bullied the media to bend the knee. Donald Trump has taken over the Supreme Court. Donald Trump and Republicans have the House and the Senate, which is why elections matter. Even when you don't like that person, the lesser of two evils is exactly that, the less evil. And the last week, he's only been president, folks, I think 56 days. He has done test cases. Mahmoud Khalil, who is a green card holder, a pro-Palestinian activist, a Columbia student who was detained. I don't know if you all saw that video. Did you see that video, Danielle, that's gone viral? Who's been detained and now is in a Louisiana makeshift prison. That was a test case. Will anyone stop me? No one did. Oh, a violent insurrection. Will Joe Biden and Merrick Garland stop me, hold me accountable? No one did. Let me test if I can unilaterally freeze congressionally approved funds. Okay, the Supreme Court barely went against me, but I still dismantled U.S. aid. Now let me see. Let me see if I can invoke the Alien Enemies Act that I promised I would, and that has only been used 3 times before, and get rid of any and all immigrants that I want. And over the weekend, what did he do, Danielle?
I mean, this is, look, you
We're in
know,
it. We're in it.
So here is the what happened over the weekend. The Trump administration has transferred hundreds of immigrants to El Salvador, even as a judge blocked the deportations under an 18th century wartime declaration. This is how far back they are going, folks. The Trump administration has transferred hundreds of immigrants to El Salvador, even as a federal judge issued an order temporarily barring the deportations for an 18th century wartime declaration targeting Venezuelan gang members, officials said Sunday. Flights were in the air at the time of the ruling. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg issued an order Saturday temporarily blocking the deportations, but lawyers told him there were already 2 planes with immigrants in the air. One headed for El Salvador, the other for Honduras. Boasberg verbally ordered the planes be turned around, but they apparently were not. And he did not include the directive in his written order. So this is, we are going over this today and unpacking this today because the fact is that, as we have said, courts do not have their own law enforcement. Courts do not have the military. You either choose to follow court orders because we live in a land of law and order, or you don't.
That's right.
And Donald Trump told us weeks ago that he who, right, saves his country breaks no laws.
Who'd he quote?
Napoleon and Hitler. So the fact is that the courts, as people have said, oh, the courts are holding. No, they are not, because it doesn't matter what they are ordering when planes are already in the air and no one is saying turn them around. The court has demanded it. He just keeps barreling forward. And so to put up just like this timeline of how quickly all of this moved over the weekend, a timeline for how the Trump administration raced to use the Alien Enemies Act yesterday, delivering 250 Venezuelan people to El Salvador's brutal prison system without any chance to defend themselves just before a judge could stop the planes. And I want folks to understand something here as well. Donald Trump says that they are gang members. Donald Trump also told us that everyone coming from Mexico was a rapist and a gang member and a murderer. Donald Trump is a fucking liar.
Well, remind them what he said about the Haitians.
Eating the cats, eating the dogs, that like whatever he is conjuring up to spread is a lie so that we look the other way at these folks being deported and we say to ourselves, oh, well, don't we want to get rid of gang members and rapists and murderers? Can't we all agree that we don't want criminals in this country? But who gets to declare that they are criminals? And what evidence do you have to support that declaration? So I want to play this video that, folks, I find it very disturbing. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but this is what it looks like when propaganda has arrived, right? When deep propaganda is now what our government is doing.
The cameras were ready.
This is a Hollywood production.
Yep.
This is actually not how governments deal with anyone. It is a Hollywood production. They had cameras and the drones and using our military as if they are literally paid actors.
Yep. Yep. And the cameras were ready, and Ruth Ben-Ghiat, who's a scholar of authoritarianism, said it's fascism propaganda 101. I want to go back to this real quick. It's top row left to right, bottom row left to right. 3:51 p.m. Alien Enemies Act proclamation goes line, has only been invoked 3 times in America's past: War of 1812, World War I, where they used it to attack Germans and Italians, and most infamously World War II, where America interned citizens of Japanese descent and destroyed their lives on flimsy evidence that they were a national security threat that was later proven to be completely bunk. 4:30 p.m. Planes start landing in El Salvador. 5 p.m. Hearing begins. Judge calls flight back, right? Then what happens? Check this out. Bukele is the dictatorial crypto bro president of El Salvador, who literally trolls the rest of us and accepts hundreds of these prisoners for a fee, Danielle. It gets even worse because it's all a grift, right? So we're paying El Salvador to outsource these immigrants and send them to brutal prisons, essentially torture, without any due process. And as Timothy Snyder, another scholar on authoritarianism, the author of In Tyranny, said, on tyranny, all those people that you saw, all those individuals handcuffed, we don't know the charges, no due process. So you can be against sex traffickers and also for due process. But when you're an authoritarian, you can do whatever you want. And then when you tell a judge, and then what do they tell the judge? First of all, now today, MAGA wants to impeach that judge. And second of all, yesterday, the Trump administration said, we don't think the judge has the authority. It's within the executive authority to do this. And the other scary part that people didn't pick up over the weekend is someone from the Trump administration is arguing that it is within the scope of the executive authority for the president to deport, I don't know if you saw this, Danielle, anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone. So that's citizens, right? So we, Danielle brings up this quote, oft-used quote of Niemöller, first they came for, right? And it's true because back in the day when they used to come after communists, right? McCarthyism, they're like, yeah, it's those communists, those pinkos, they hate America, But then they saw, wait a second, they're coming after veterans and teachers and Hollywood actors. So now they're like, yeah, go after them Palestinians. They're just Hamas. Easy. Complete nonsense. No proof, but it's fine. Palestinians are completely dehumanized. Go after those Venezuelan rapists and criminals. What? You want rapists and criminals here? What type of person are you? And as they're saying this, folks, because I like to bring receipts, I want to remind you last week, who did this administration welcome? Andrew and Tristan Tate from Hungary. The Tate brothers, Romania, who couldn't leave Romania because they're being what? not just investigated, but they have a case against them for rape and sex trafficking. And look at the type of heroes welcome they got at UFC, Danielle. And so when we kept telling people for the last 2 years, it isn't just going to stop with Palestinians. That was a test case. Venezuelans, that's a test case. The Muslim ban, that's a test case. Show them what happened to these Lebanese doctor who was here on a work visa, a specialist working at Brown University, a kidney transplant specialist. Folks, she literally is here to save lives. Literally, she was going to work on people to get a kidney transplant. Danielle, tell them what happened to her over the weekend.
So, Trump's Department of Homeland Security just deported a surgeon from Brown University Medical School who is here legally on an H-1B visa that does not expire until 2027 and has committed no crimes. Trained in the U.S. at Ohio State, University of Washington, and Yale, a transplant surgeon, one of the most difficult surgical fields in all of medicine. She's a highly trained doctor on kidney transplants, which cannot be easily replaced. Her phone was seized at the border. A federal judge handed down an injunction against her deportation, but she was already deported on a plane en route to Paris. Brown's kidney transplant clinic is now strained by her deportation. I also want to offer up, where was she going? She had gone home to Lebanon because she has a visa that allows her to go home and come back. In that time, the United States had decided to label a number of countries as banned or on a high threat watch, et cetera, et cetera.
43 countries.
She is now in Europe.
That's right.
And with no way to come back into the United States.
And you know what they're saying as of today? She had photos of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah. Okay. The photos that she allegedly have were deleted photos, allegedly. And Nasrallah, and if you know anything about Lebanon, Hezbollah, right? Like Hezbollah kind of controls a huge part of Lebanon. When he died, like it was a massive funeral. Like it was huge. So she had photos allegedly of the funeral, which honestly, most people in Lebanon at the time would have photos of the funeral, right? And even then, what type of due process is that? You have to go through an immigration judge, right? You can't just unilaterally kick out a green card holder or a person who's legally here. It doesn't work that way. And so look what they did with Mahmoud Khalil, aligned with Hamas. Okay, no evidence, but whatever. Marco Rubio says he's a threat. This lady deleted photos of Nasrallah's funeral. Anyway, she's a threat. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. These are all test cases. And what will make you think that they won't do this to you? Now, if you don't believe me, let's go here. Canada. They're going even after Canada. What has Canada done to anyone? Canada has been one of the best allies, okay? It's our economic partner, folks. It literally has helped us throughout our history when it comes to national security. Canada doesn't want this smoke. Canada, Trudeau, before he left, kept telling the people and literally kept talking to us like we're children. We are not your enemies. We do not want to do these tariffs. We do not want to throw out like American bourbon. We are forced to do this because of your president. And over the weekend, what did Trump do? It has become a point now, folks, where it's not just trolling and a joke. What did he say? Canada only works as a state, is what Trump said this week. His words are wrecking our alliance. This is to Captain Mark Kelly. Our friends are turning their backs on us because of it. These words don't make us stronger. They won't make us more prosperous, and they won't make us safer. And now they're attacking Mark Kelly. Yes, Mark Kelly, veteran. Mark Kelly, plane shot down. Mark Kelly went to friggin' space as NASA. It's all projection. These cowards are now seeing people like Mark Kelly, and I never even liked John McCain, but I said, you know what? Thank you, John McCain, for your service. They mock John McCain, right? They're seen as the cowards. But Trump, who got bone spurs because of his rich daddy, and who said that his personal Vietnam was avoiding STDs. I want to repeat that. Trump said his personal Vietnam was avoiding STDs. This mother effer, who mocks and ridicules veterans, who doesn't want to be filmed with people who are, amputees, who calls them suckers and losers. Now they're the ones mocking actual veterans, and they're the ones attacking our allies, but being chummy to Russia. And another one I want to tell people, the cruelest one, the one that is so indefensible. A 10-year-old girl, brain cancer survivor, U.S. citizen, who is getting treatment in America, got deported with her undocumented parents. And what did we say on this show? We brought the receipts. Tom Homan, the border czar, on 60 Minutes. Remember what he said, Danielle?
Yep.
Oh, no, we won't separate the kids.
Everybody
We're
can
going
go.
to deport the kids with the parents. And that just happened. And you tell me, Danielle, how does deporting a 10-year-old girl surviving brain cancer, how does that make us safer? How does that make America great again? And how any Christian for Trump can rationalize that one? Tell me how you rationalize that one.
The reality is that it's not about rationalization anymore. They just don't care. And I think that one of the things that I want to remind folks as we move through the headlines today, Marco Rubio confirmed 99-0. All Democrats voted to confirm Mark Rubio, saying that he was going to be the adult in the room. Oh, we've worked with him for years. And now you have the Democrats that voted him in without even a blimp, without even a blink of the eye, saying, oh, we made a mistake.
Whoopsie.
It is like,
99-0.
It is so. I'm sorry, folks. It is disheartening. It is all true, and I wish that I wish it wasn't. But like Waj said at the top, when the comet is coming, our job is not to tell you to look away, and is not to tell you that all is going to be okay. Wow. Thank you so much.
That's the most we've ever gotten. Thank you so much. It goes a long way.
Thank you a lot. That it's all going to be okay, because to be honest, it is not. It is not going to be okay. We are in it now, and it is going to get worse. And it is about how to prepare yourselves and your families to stay as safe as possible.
Can we say, I want to give you all one more example, because there's so many now, just to prove our thesis, because just so you don't think we're being apocalyptic or doomsayers for no reason. Another example, in addition to Mahmoud Khalil, another Palestinian student, a woman, was deported. And then, folks, they went after, notice I said, right? First they come after them, then an Indian student from Canada. They revoked her F1. So she's self-deported back to Canada, folks. They're coming after everyone. So if you think you'll be safe, folks, we are in it. We're all connected. And that includes Trumpers. Because guess what? There's a fatal flaw here. And this is where I'm trying to give Danielle some hope in my own strange, weird way. And I think I said this to Danielle right before we pressed record. I said the difference between this Republican Party, this right-wing party, and the party that they're trying to emulate, which is Hungary's Fidesz party, Orban. Steve Bannon 10 years ago said Viktor Orban was Trump before Trump. Literally, folks, you've been following right-wing media. If you've been watching our show for 2 years, we've been trying to connect the dots. Orban is their model. Orban in Hungary, folks, is now authoritarianism with the window dressing of democracy, one-party rule, okay? At least Orban, folks, was smart enough to say to the people, okay, I'm going to be an authoritarian, but I'll give you social services. I'll help you out. The right-wing party, the GOP in America, is so extreme, so greedy, Danielle, that they're like, At least Marie Antoinette allegedly said, let them eat cake. This person is like, you got to earn your crumbs. So now the problem, folks, is this. Immigration has dropped to 4th place among voters, with the cost of living and political corruption taking over the 2 top spots according to Echelon. Even though someone tried to spin Donald's rating by saying he has 47%, he's underwater. He has the lowest favorability rating of any modern president in history. He's number 1 and number 2. 40% for his first term, 47% now. It'll keep dropping. He's negative 13 on the economy. He's never been that low in the economy. Price of eggs have gone down because they, spent $1 billion on imports. Still high. Grocery prices still high. Now, Danielle, thousands of people without jobs. Those people have to pay rent. Those people are veterans, such as the 83,000 people who were fired from the Department of VA. A lot of them are veterans. By freezing the funds, right, to dismantle U.S. aid, who else did he also screw? Farmers. He also screwed farmers. And speaking about the people who he's screwing, Danielle, tell us, who's getting screwed the most?
Again, I did not fuck around. So I'm so frustrated by the fact that we all have to find out. But Trump tariffs will disproportionately affect Trump voters.
Huh?
And here is the graph. They break down the counties where the tariffs could hit jobs by presidential vote winner. And if you look at the counties, and they break them down, counties where Harris won 468,000, Trump won 1.1 million, Canada, Harris counties, 2.8 million, Trump 3.7 million, et cetera, et cetera. And we've said this before, right? That red states were always going to be the ones that were going to suffer more because they take most of government welfare, because they have the most concentration of low income people, right? Who are white and who are on Medicare and SNAP benefits and disproportionately veterans and so on and so forth. And farmers, right? And factory workers. So here it is. But as Donald Trump said on the campaign trail, vote for me this time. You'll never have to vote for me again. Because 1, he's not leaving. And 2, he does not care. This is the actions that this regime is taking are not actions of people who believe that they have to get anybody's votes.
That's right.
And that's the thing that I really want it to resonate with people, is that folks keep saying, oh, well, come 2026 and come 2028. And I'm just like, this is where you have a failure of imagination.
Failure of imagination.
Those elections, right? And if we do, they are sure as fuck not going to be free and fair. And so folks need to really understand that the actions and the movement that is being taken by this regime are people who have no need to try and win you over ever again.
And I'm so glad you said that, the failure of imagination, because Danielle, I also told people 2018, 2019 that Trump will not leave peacefully. And once we said that, I remember it. I have all the receipts on the social media site, Twitter. I refuse to call it by its dumbass name, X. You should see the comments the first time I wrote that. Look at the centrists. Look at the center left people, some of the blue check marks, and look at the MAGA. They all mocked me and said, what do they call it? Trump derangement syndrome. Mm-hmm. I take him literally and seriously. Mm-hmm. I listen to the folks who have studied authoritarianism. I listen to the folks in the Middle East and Europe who survived under dictators. And they kept saying, this guy is a wannabe authoritarian. I paid attention to him when he praised the authoritarian leaders. I paid attention to him when he said he wants to terminate the Constitution and he'll be just a dictator on day one. I pay attention to him when he quotes Hitler and said that he would unleash the National Guard and the military on the, quote, enemies from within. Folks, that was right before the election. I paid attention to him when he referred to himself as a king. That was a week after he quoted Napoleon. All right. We are now in it. And I'm so glad someone mentioned what's happening in Hungary. There are protests out in Hungary. There's opposition. And what Orban did, I don't know if you saw this just a couple hours ago, Danielle. Again, Orban is the model. Orban now has introduced a bill to ban pride marches. And he promised to go after NGOs and the media to crack down, because for the first time we're seeing fissures, because also at the same time the economy is kind of wonky. So that is their model, Viktor Orban. Okay. Donald Trump literally now is telling America and Democrats and judges, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stop me. Oh, you told me to bring back the plane? No. What are you going to do? I'm going to punch you in the face. I have all the power. This is what me and Danielle have said. Speaking about the failure of imagination, what have we been saying for the past like 2 months ever since he got elected? What rules, what civility, what accountability, what guardrails when a dictator has all the power? He will say, that kind of quote attributed to Hamilton. All right, the judge has made his decision. I'd love to see him enforce it. Him and what army, right? And Donald Trump pardoned his army of 1,600 people, including individuals who were convicted of seditious conspiracy. So I always want to bring people back. As they are removing people without due process, as they are saying that they're against sexual assaulters and traffickers, Donald Trump was held liable for rape and defamation, talking about grabbing women by the pee. As they talk about making America safe and getting rid of terrorists, they literally celebrate terrorists who try to overthrow our free and fair election. Up is down, left is right. But the one thing that we might have going for us, Danielle, is that graph that you showed. That immigration now has gone from number 1 or number 2 to number 4. And a lot of his base is like, I really like Social Security. I like Medicaid. I wanted you to put your boot on the neck of the blacks and the browns, not my neck. That's what's happening, folks. Let's be clear. I thought you would go after Danielle and Waj. Why are you going after me? So there's an opening. There's an opening to fight back. You have the majority. And with that opening, Danielle, are the Democrats fighting back?
Among the American public overall, the Democratic Party's favorability rating stands at just 29%, a record low in CNN's polling data going back to 1992.
That's when they first started, by the way.
I'll go on. With many in the party saying publicly that their leaders should do more to stand up to Trump, Democrats and Democratic aligned independents say 57% to 42% that Democrats should mainly work to stop the Republican agenda rather than working with the GOP majority to get some Democratic ideas into legislation. So, here's the thing. And it was funny because the former co-host of this show with me, Toure, was on CNN, Waj, and I don't know if you saw the clip.
No.
But he's on with Abby Phillips and, doing that roundtable. And he says that I am thinking about leaving the Democratic Party. He's like, I'm not a politician, but he's like, for my entire life, I have voted with Democrats.
And was this over the weekend, you said?
This is over the weekend.
Okay.
And he was like, I don't see what the Democrats are doing. And they are just handing over our country to this, this cult, this regime. And, I look at, right, what happened.
We have a smart audience, folks.
What happened last week, right? With Chuck Schumer, along with 8 other Democrats in the Senate.
Nine. Oh,
I'm sorry.
with one independent, Angus King, but he kind of
Okay.
caucuses with Democrats.
So with 8 Democrats, 1 Republican, 1 independent, deciding that they are going to vote to pass the continuing resolution to push the draconian Republican budget that is set to slash Social Security, slash Medicaid, slash the Department of Education, so on and so forth. And Chuck Schumer, who was set to go on a book tour because that seems important right now for him to be doing, has postponed inevitably his book tour. And go ahead, Waj, you can read this for our good friend.
Mr. Schumer was scheduled to participate in promotional events in Atlanta, Washington. A lot of black folks in those cities. Atlanta, Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, as well as a few stops in California for his new book, Anti-Semitism in America, A Warning. Many Democratic activists, desperate for the leaders to stand up to President Trump, have been staging protests outside of Schumer's Brooklyn home and calling for his resignation. Online, they have been organizing protests for every stop on his book tour. Thank you, Jimmy, in 1982, for the $50. A spokeswoman for Schumer said the tour was being rescheduled because of security concerns. But the move was immediately criticized by both the right and the left, who accused Schumer of being unwilling to face arrest of public. And they're exactly right, because, folks, receipts. Last Wednesday, Schumer said, the caucus is 100% united. House Democrats in a unified way sent a message, not just to Senate Democrats, but to America and to Democrats, that we will oppose this CR, the spending bill, which will give Donald Trump and Elon Musk more control to basically pick and choose what they want to fund and to gut government agencies. They don't have the votes. Let's act as a resistance, shut down the government, use the leverage that we have so they come back to us and are forced to actually work with us because it was done without any compromise. It was a Republican-written bill. Next day, what does Schumer do? A complete 180. And over the weekend, you had Democratic leaders openly say, we felt betrayed. He threw us under the bus. Clyburn said it. Ro Khanna said it, right? Hakeem Jeffries. He didn't go as far as to talk about new leadership. Raphael Warnock did. All right. So Schumer, and we don't know why.
No, we know why.
We know why.
We know why.
He threw all of them under the bus. And then on Friday, they needed 8 votes. They got 10. Just a beautiful microcosm of like the Democratic Party. It's like, oh, you need 8 people to screw America? We'll give you 2 more. How's 2 more? And that night at midnight, around 12 o'clock, Friday, Saturday, Donald Trump and the administration, in the most callous, cruel way, announced what? Cuts to departments. Did you see that, Danielle? And what department did they cut? Voice of America. So another tool, which was against fascism, right? Yes, it's American propaganda, but nonetheless, it does pick up good stories. They cut Voice of America, and I had a friend message us at 12:01. Wow, I'm on administrative leave. Literally trolling them to their face. And then Politico interviews a few Republicans saying, this went beyond our wildest dreams. And then over the weekend, the architect of Project 2025 said, this is everything we always wanted, Project 2025. And so we have Democrats like Schumer and another Democrat. Show me this other Democrat, Gavin. Oh, Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of California, but has decided to launch a podcast because, apparently he had a lot of free time, being the governor of the most populous state in America with 40 million people, my home state, the 5th largest economy in the world. Tell him, Danielle, who were his first 2 guests on his podcasts? The ones that he invited.
What's his face? Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA and Steve Bannon. And no, I'm not making that up at all. And so what has happened now over the last week of his foray into the MAGA world? New data on the reaction to Gavin Newsom's new podcast. Favorability among liberals has declined from 46% to 30%.
1 week.
While some Republicans agreed with his stances, they overwhelmingly viewed him as insincere, calling him, quote, fake and, quote, pandering. So if Gavin Newsom was doing this MAGA turnabout in order to gain more Republican voters, for whatever reason a Democrat would need that, they also see right through him. His net favorability dropped from +4 to -6, a 10-point swing in the wrong direction.
Mm.
And only 13% of voters had an improved perception of him, and only 1 in 5 said the podcast made them want to tune in for more.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it? They'll never love you. MAGA will never love you. And also, we mentioned this 2 weeks ago when he had Charlie Kirk on, a conservative influencer, we brought out the tweet, said, this is amazing. Charlie Kirk didn't budge on any issues. Gavin Newsom did. When Steve Bannon was on, folks, there's a viral clip that went viral for like an hour because there's 87 other breaking news of our country falling apart, where Steve Bannon on Gavin Newsom's podcast, go check it out right now, literally says Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Bullshit, he lost. Gavin Newsom sits there and just nods his head. So look what they make you give. You keep moving to the right, you push the Overton window, you bend the knee, and you think MAGA will like you. They don't. They laugh at you. They see you like a dog that they can now kick, right? At least when you were standing, they had to take out your knees. Now they can kick you in the chin and you say, thank you, may I have another? And what Danielle and I have been saying, look, I was wrong about the 2024 election and 2016. I was right about a lot of stuff. We have been saying the Democratic Party needs fighters. And whoever's willing to fight, the people will reward them. Danielle, show them.
So, AOC right now is rated the highest as the Democratic leader who best aligns with the party's core values. I don't see Chuck Schumer anywhere on this list. So you look at this, and AOC among Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters, 10% towards her favor. 9% Kamala Harris, 8% Bernie Sanders, 6% Hakeem Jeffries, and so on and so forth. I don't think that Jeffries belongs on this list at all.
Nope.
But he may be coming to his senses as well in recognizing what just happened with Schumer, who he had been holding up until Schumer did what Schumer does, which is stab him in the back in order to please his donors and get the stock market to have a little bounce on Friday, because that's why Schumer did this. Not because he gives a fuck about democracy or that he thinks that this would move anyone in the right direction. It was beholden to his donors that said, we're getting killed right now in the markets because of this tariff war and this, these trade conversations. And now we're dealing with a potential government shutdown. Do something. And so what did Schumer do? He went to go support his donors instead of supporting democracy. And that's what he chose. So you have to look at this and understand that we arrive in this place.
Can I just say this real quick? Look at those names, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4 Black individuals, 1 Latina, 1 Jewish individual. So Democratic donors and centrists and the experts who want to run away from the DEI and the woke, and let's be honest, that's just now a catch-all for N-word, people of color, and women. Look at who your base wants to represent you. That's all I want to say. Continue, please.
And I will just say this before we get out of here, and I turn it over to you with the one bright spot that we found today, which is that, folks keep asking in the comment section, is everything hopeless? Should we just give up? And folks, look, we don't sugarcoat things on this show. It is really fucking rough right now, and it is going to get harder. But the only way that we see through this right? However long that through is going to be, is by people that are willing to fight in
That's right.
any which way that they deem. So whether it's those that believe in going out into the streets, those that believe in boycotts, those that believe in supporting independent media, as so many of you are doing today, those that believe in, continuing to call their members or deciding to run themselves, like, the actions that we take today are going to be what helps future generations. As Waj said, Hitler said he was going to rule for a millennia.
Yep.
And he lasted 13 years, but in that 13 years, millions of people were murdered. Right? Millions of people were murdered and a world war took place. Right? Assad, people thought was going to rule forever. Right? What we know is that dictatorships and authoritarian regimes eventually fall. But that eventually could be 20, 30, 40, 50, some odd years. Jim Crow, following 12 years of Reconstruction, lasted for a century.
Yep.
Right? So when we say that we have got to find a way through, and that through is going to be a long time, we are not soothsayers. We have no idea. But what we do know is that choosing to bury our heads in the sand, choosing to bend the knee, will not result in your safety.
Nope.
And that's all we can do is continue to be here to inform and to connect the dots for as long as we can. But the fact of the matter is that no, there is no good news. There is no bright spot. We are the bright spots inside the darkness that we are living in.
Absolutely. Look, what I'm telling people, and I think this is what we're about to show you, the one good news, because Daniel always asks me for good news, is the courts won't save us. The Democrats won't save us. The media won't save us. Law enforcement won't save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our personal health, our mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. We have to take care of our family. We have to take care of our street and our local community. We have the numbers. This is very important, folks. We have the numbers. That's one thing that they don't have. They don't have the numbers. We have the numbers. And when the numbers combine, you get the majority. And when we get the majority, then you have a movement. And the people can take back this country, right? The people can take down a dictator. Look at Syria. Look at the resistance in Palestine. Despite being decimated, they haven't given up hope. Even America, American Revolution, folks, a colony took on an empire, all right? There's something in our DNA, Danielle. Mm-hmm. And case in point, when Danielle said, give me some good news, the cruelty of MAGA, folks, what they did is they eliminated this really beautiful U.S. Marine Band concert. Why did they cancel a U.S. Marine Band? Because of an executive order by Trump banning, wait for it, DEI programs. This Marine Band concert was to include minority high school student musicians. So in response, not relying on Iron Man, who isn't coming to save us, or Wonder Woman, or Batman, it was up to retired military musicians who organized an alternative event, allowing these young talents to perform for a national audience. So what would be seen by about thousands of people, thanks to 60 Minutes, who's been crushing it. And this is one of the best this is one of the best news stories. Go check it out afterwards. If you have time today, just mark this down, go check it out. They actually filmed, it's an amazing segment, an amazing story. They interviewed the folks, and then they did a second segment where they had an entire concert. So instead of just being seen by thousands, now millions of people have seen this. This is a community coming together. This is people coming together and saying, you know what? We're alive. We're here. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but we're going to do something within our power, right? Like I always say, there's a great saying in Islam, have faith in God, but tie your camel first, right? Meaning have faith in God, say inshallah. But after saying inshallah, do whatever you can with your own hands to fix your situation and then leave it to God. And so this community came together and said, oh, that's what Trump is doing? Okay, we're retired military folks who are musicians. We'll get these kids together. They reached out to CNN, and voila, the world sees the concert that Trump administration wanted to cancel and did cancel because there were some minority high school students, and they called them DEI.
So we leave here today, friends, with stark warnings, but also bright spots that we, the people, have got to consistently make for each other, for our communities, and for ourselves. And this idea, again, that somebody is coming to save us isn't happening. It is us or it's nothing. And so, however you choose to link arms, however you choose to build community, however you choose to fight back, right? Just make sure that you are fighting back. And also, as Waj has said, that you tend to your spirit,
Yes.
to your heart,
Yes.
to those around you, because this unnerving that is happening is an erosion of our health. The constant trauma, the constant fear rises the cortisol levels, rises, right? That can have us have heart attacks and strokes and other stress related issues that arise. So you must take care of yourselves at the same time, linking arms with others, because we are stronger together than we are apart. And that's the thing that we have got to continue to remember, is that. And so,
can I also say,
yeah,
something I was thinking about real quick. Because as before me and Danielle, we were talking, we shared with you what we were talking about. I was thinking about this because Danielle said linking. So you literally link together with people who are part of your community, and community can be, and family. It's fluid. Your community can be two other people. Your family doesn't have to be your blood relation. People who love you, and people that you love, people who have your back, right? And you build it, and you link, and you link, and you link. But also, we are links in history, and something to give you perspective, and maybe something to give you some hope and some chutzpah as we move forward. When all is said and done, and we each owe a death, even rich people can't escape death. Oh, Elon Musk is trying, Danielle, just like the Pharaoh tried to escape death. But guess what? Death comes even for the richest man on earth. He's trying, folks. Transhumanism won't work. Death comes for us all. And you want to know, before your time is up and you meet your creator, what did I do with the time that I had? At this moment in history, was I the one, like my ancestors before me, who stood up against the tyrants, against the Pharaoh, against injustice? Was I the one who had courage? Was I the one who marched with Martin Luther King? Was I the one who sided with Gandhi? Was I the one who said women should have the right to vote? Was I the one who was on the right side of history, doing my part, writing a story that would make all of our kids, inshallah, the heroes? Or was I on the side of injustice, or was I a coward? That's a decision for you to make. I know I will never go down on my knees. I will always fight. So fight, take care of yourselves, be healthy, and thank you all. And I'm so sorry that I took so long because Danielle has to leave. But first, support Danielle, support her Substack, subscribe. Danielle's at 15.3. We need to get her to 20,000. Thank you for all the super chatters,
all super chats and
donations. It goes a long way. We're independent media. We'll never bend the knee. We'll keep it honest and truthful. We went a little bit longer today, but we needed to give Danielle a pep talk. I hope she feels a little bit better. I hope the rest of you feel better. And Danielle now has to go host another show because she hosts 18 shows. What show are you hosting now, Danielle?
I'm headed to do The New Abnormal. But I just want to say again, just real quickly, the donations that came in today were so incredibly generous. They're actually like making me a little teary. So thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate you all showing up. So thank you. That is it for us today on Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat.
And we will be back on Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, for our wrap-up of the week, Democracy-ish. And we hope to see you all there. Be well. Inshallah.